diplomatic relations. Police arrived at the school early on Saturday, and people were seen removing furniture later in the day. A foreign ministry spokesman said the building belonged to the Polish state and the seizure is legal. Russia's foreign ministry say Polish authorities burst into the embassy school's grounds and they regard this as a hostile act. Diplomatic relations between the countries are already strained over the war in Ukraine. International evacuations from Sudan are scaling down. Most foreigners have been able to leave the East African nation. Thousands of Sudanese, meanwhile, are trying to escape too as the fighting continues. David Garrett reports.
This is what the evacuees have left behind. The violence continues in Sudan. Smoke is seen rising into the sky from multiple locations in Khartoum, a city of 5 million that has become the front line in a battle for control of the country between two warring generals. These students recorded video of themselves running from gunfire. Over 500 have been killed in the fortnight of fighting. Thousands have been injured. It's estimated hundreds of thousands may have been displaced. These people have managed to get out. They have escaped to the United Arab Emirates. Over 100 landed in the Gulf nation. There were various nationalities, including Sudanese.
The situation is very bad. We didn't expect it. Friday we will find, Saturday it all broke. And from that day it was fire in the street, fire in the houses, in the cars. And after 2-3 days from that, the RSF, they start to had shortage of food, water, and power, so they start to invade homes.
A ferry carrying thousands docked in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. Many on board had to travel hundreds of miles to Port Sudan to catch the rescue boat. Most of those on board were Indian or Iranian.
Make a bus for us to travel to Port Sudan. After that, thank you from Saudi Arabia to make a good trip with ship to Saudi Arabia, and I'm very happy.
America has been criticised for its slow response at getting its nationals out, but in Washington, the State Department said US citizens were at Sudan port waiting to leave. More than 200 travelled in a convoy of buses to the eastern port, guided to the coast by armed drones.
Several hundred US citizens have already departed Sudan, either by land, sea, or aircraft. I'm not going to be prescriptive of how much of those we've been in direct communication with, but throughout our communications with American citizens, we are connecting them with avenues for departure of the country.
Others are fleeing by going overland. Satellite images show dozens of buses and trucks lining up on the Argin, Egypt-Sudan border crossing. This doctor filmed newborn babies not far from Khartoum. Hawida Al-Hassan released the images. She believes their new beginning could be a beacon of hope for the country. She says on the video they are beautiful, but came into the world to the sound of shelling and gunfire. David Garrett, TVB News.
Paraguay is holding elections in what may be seen as a challenge to the Conservative Party that has governed the country for almost 70 years. The elections are for president and Congress, but the ruling Colorado Party is facing discontent over health, schools, and corruption. The result could also have implications for Paraguay's relations with Taiwan. The opposition coalition has vowed to review the relationship should it win. The two main candidates are Santiago Peña of the ruling party and veteran opposition lawyer Efrain Alegre. One factor will be turnout, as usually only 6 in 10 Paraguayans vote. Police in America are searching for a suspect who shot at 5 of his neighbors, including an 8-year-old. The suspect has been named as 38-year-old Francisco Oropeza from Cleveland, Texas. He was shooting his gun in his yard when his neighbors asked him to keep the noise down. Police say after declining their request, footage from a doorbell camera shows him approaching their front door with his AR-15 rifle. The 5 victims were Honduran, all under 31 years old, with one a young boy. 3 other children were covered in blood but are unharmed. The adults shielded them from the bullets. Still ahead on tonight's news. A tiered penalty system for delayed MPF contributions by employers being considered. Hong Kong Electric will offer a special fuel rebate next month. And in the UK, preparations for King Charles's May 6th coronation. Welcome back. The Mandatory Provident Fund Schemes Authority revealed it is considering ramping up penalties for delayed MPF contributions by employers. They include introducing a progressive rate of surcharges if employers fail to settle outstanding balances after the grace period. Under the current law, employers failing to pay their mandatory contributions to MPF trustees on time have to pay a 5% surcharge on the outstanding amount, no matter how long the payment has been delayed. Now, harsher penalties might be on the way. That's unveiled in the latest blog post by Ayesha McPherson Lau, chairman of the Mandatory Provident Fund Schemes Authority, who noted the upswings in both the total amount of delayed MPF contributions and the number of workers affected year on year. A notable surge in the number of non-compliant employers, too, as reflected in the hike in the number of MPF and surcharge notices issued over the past 2 years. The latest figure stands at 350,000, which marks a 9% jump year on year. And only some 30% of the employers cleared their outstanding balances within 14 days after the notices were issued. To step up the deterrent effect, the MPF Schemes Authority chairman revealed they are studying the possibility of introducing a tiered surcharge arrangement, under which the later you repay, the higher the late fees will be. Liberal Party chairman and retail sector lawmaker Peter Xu said that would take away the breathing space from the business sector, which just weathered 3 years of the pandemic.
After 3 years pandemic, now all those SME in Hong Kong try to recover. It's not a right timing for adding a lot of the extra costs for business and all those business sector.
Xu said Chief Executive John Lee also just confirmed the MPF offsetting mechanism will be abolished in 2 years, which will prevent employers from using the pension funds for severance and long service payments. So it's not ideal for the government to heap further financial pressures on businesses. The MPF chief added when the eMPF platform becomes fully operational, it will substantially raise the efficiency for enforcement work. Workers, too, can more easily monitor the status of their pension funds. Meanwhile, Hong Kong Electric will offer a special fuel rebate next month. That's by freezing the fuel cost charge at 90.6 cents per unit of electricity. The charges are adjusted monthly to reflect the change in fuel costs. The charges were supposed to increase by 1.1 cents to 91.7 cents in May. A Hong Kong Electric spokesperson said considering how international fuel prices have eased in recent months, they decided to keep the level of charges unchanged. The power firm added they believe the charges are expected to dip by around mid-2023. Under the scheme of control agreement between the government and Hong Kong Electric, the fuel cost is charged directly without any profits taken from the customers. Meanwhile, CLP Power, which provides electricity to Kowloon and the New Territories, earlier announced for the special rebates on fuel charge costs between April and June. It is frozen at the level of March, and that's 62.8 cents per unit of electricity. After a 3-year hiatus, the Cheung Chau Bun Festival will return on May 26. Earlier, the selection competition was held to choose the fastest 12 contestants to compete in the final. The selection competition for the Bun Festival took place at the Pak Tai Temple Playground on Cheung Chau this afternoon. The 97 candidates were divided into groups of 4 and had to first compete in a preliminary round. They were asked to reach a designated height and to pat their hands with flour, a gesture to signal they had finished the competition. The 24 candidates with the best results in the preliminary round can enter the semi-finals. The Stone of Scone, the coronation stone on which British monarchs have been crowned for centuries, is now at Westminster Abbey for King Charles's May 6 coronation. Also known as the Stone of Destiny, its origins are unknown but is believed to have been used in the inauguration of Scottish kings as far back as the early 9th century. Matthew Bray reports.
A service was held at Westminster Abbey Saturday to welcome the Stone of Scone, moved from Edinburgh Castle on Friday and set to play a key role in the coronation of King Charles III. The 125-kilogram sandstone stone carries significant symbolism for Scots. It was returned to Scotland in 1996, having been in London for 700 years. Seized by Edward I in 1296, it was incorporated into the coronation chair and used in ceremonies for monarchs since.
Well, of course, the stone being back here is a sense of real unity There's a big history behind this, which started with a bit of enmity, and then the late Queen brought it back in a kindness to Scotland in 1996, and it comes down as a unity symbol of friendship and part of Scotland's contribution to the coronation.
Another key part of the coronation, the robes Charles will wear. These will be the same vestments that Queen Elizabeth II wore during her own coronation. The super tunica is woven from gold cloth and has goldwork embroidery.
So both the super tunica and the imperial mantle were last worn at the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II on the 2nd of June 1953, so they haven't been worn for 70 years. As part of our care of items in the collection, obviously they're very carefully looked after. They're usually on display, in fact, in the Tower of London because they form part of the coronation regalia, the royal regalia. And so in readiness for the coronation on the 6th of May, we've been preparing them as part of all the very myriad of preparations.
Also rehearsing the 700 Coldstream Guardsmen, officers and bandsmen for the procession that will follow King Charles to Buckingham Palace from the Abbey next Saturday. There will be some 8,000 people in the parade in what was termed a complex operation. Matthew Bray, TVB News.
Over to sports. The Denver Nuggets thumped the Phoenix Suns 125-107 in Game 1 of their second-round NBA playoff series. Reigning back-to-back NBA MVP Nikola Jokic had 24 points and 19 rebounds for the Nuggets, who are the #1 seed in the Western Conference. But it was teammate Jamal Murray who stole the show. He scored 34 points and hit 6 of his side's 16 three-pointers. Denver successfully subdued Phoenix star Kevin Durant. He went 12 of 19 from the floor, but just 1 of 3 on three-pointers. The Nuggets have now improved to 38-7 at home through the regular season and playoffs. Game 2 will get underway on Monday night in Denver.
It's a make or miss league. We talk about a lot of different things evolving our game, like defense and getting back on defense and making an extra pass. But if you just make more shots than your opponent, then you got a good chance to win a basketball game, and that's what they did.
In the German Bundesliga, the race to qualify for Europe is hotting up. SC Freiburg moved a step closer to securing their first-ever Champions League spot with a 1-0 win away at Cologne. Japan midfielder Ritsu Doan scored the winner with a close-range diving header in the second half. It was his 10th goal for the club. The victory keeps Freiburg in 4th place in the table and puts them level on points with 3rd-place Union Berlin, who were held to a 0-0 draw by Bayer Leverkusen. RB Leipzig are also still in the Champions League mix following a 1-0 victory over Hoffenheim. Union Berlin and SC Freiburg lie just 2 points above them in 2nd and 3rd place respectively. Leipzig's next 2 matches, which are both against Freiburg, look set to be season-defining. The two sides will first meet in the semi-finals of the German Cup on Tuesday and then in the league next Saturday. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.